Well, all right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and whatever else might be floating around in space. This is a very, very special episode of Pink Buzz. We are joined by a guest that I am very thrilled to talk to. I've been just clamoring to pick this man's brain ever since I got his Kickstarter. And before any further ado, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Nick?
Hi, I'm Nick. um, I'm Nick. I make comics, and I like to draw. And yeah, what can I say? Yeah.
Better known as EPHK is your creator
Yes.
name. Yeah.
So yeah, EPHK, but you can call me Nick. It's an artist name. It was just it just grew into something. It started when I was a kid, and then it grew into something, and now it's just easier to keep it. And now that I'm getting published more professionally, it's just way actually easier to pronounce than my real name. So
Yeah.
it's just easy, and I don't mind that nobody knows exactly what it is. That's perfect. It's not about that. It's about the comics.
Right, right.
So you say you've had that since a kid.
Yeah. So P is for pick, because I never really did that much graffiti, but I had a lot of friends who did.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kids, right? So they would do their letters and stuff, but they'd be like, "Oh, let's have like a 6 skull in the middle," and then I would draw that stuff, right? So I draw that on paper, and so it'd be pick. I have no idea why, PICK. And then
Cool.
and then I started tattooing, so it became electric pick. Other people chose this, and then I started to make a bit of a name for myself when I started, and people started to want to get nothing big. It was a small font, but so people would refer to me as Pick. Like people who didn't know me would be like, "Oh, this guy that does the cartoony stuff,"
That's cool, man. So there's like a little evolution there of.
And then it just became easier to keep it, and I kind of like it. It's just a bunch of letters. Whatever.
Well, yeah, and because you are a European artist, and that's kind of a trope with you guys. You have really cool nom de plumes like that. There's a lot of the really kind of known, formidable artists that have really cool, just letter nicknames. There's LRNZ, and there's a couple others that are running around. You got Jump, you got Mobius. You know what I mean? There's.
Flattered to be compared, but yes, with the name, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. I think it sounds good.
It does. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Mobius comparisons will just roll in because, of course, you are most known for your graphic novel, Mart Valis, which, of course, is very Mobius-esque. Reminds me a lot of Arzak because it is a virtually silent comic, and I love the reason why the book is silent. Can you explain to the audience why you decided to make that idea?
It's not really silent, right? There's you can't read it, but there is dialogue, right? So it was a bit of an experiment. The idea is that it's not, I tried it. The idea was that even though you can't read it, your eye, by reflex, will stop for a second. Will catch the bubble, and you will, how it is. I've heard people say they have an internal voice or
automatically try to decipher what it says. Yeah. Okay.
And that gives me a few seconds, right? So it's all about timing, right? In comics, I'm learning this as I'm doing it, but it's all about timing. And so I have different tools when I time these books, and so like panels or the reveal when you flip the page. That's the most powerful tool, right? You just So, the idea was that the bubble, you would stop even if you can't read it, and maybe not after a while you wouldn't try to read it anymore, but you would be in your head. It's part of the story. They're saying something. I can't tell what it is, but they're saying something, and that would help me pace the story. Because it would stop. Also, I find it very funny when they have big bubbles with a lot of text. That's just to humor me. I just thought it was funny. but you know, some of them is some of these bubbles are more you know, more like exclamations, or you know, or like I've kept punctuation, you know, like interrogations or whatever. So you have a bit of a, yeah, you know, a great example, great example. Uh, so yeah, it's not quite silent, and
Have you
and yeah.
have you had any fans that have tried to decipher the alphabet and figure it out or anything? Or
I've read a review of a guy who was like, "There's a system, you know.
there's a
There's a
system,
system."
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh no, buddy, don't waste your time. There is no system." No,
Uh,
no, I feel bad. There's no. It's purely aesthetic.
Mhm.
Most of the text, I don't know if you remember. There's like straight bars. That's just purely aesthetic.
Mhm.
Um, and then the more, you know, exclamations or whatever, I kind of kept the thing going where some of them seem more positive or some of them seem more negative.
Okay.
You know, there's like, you know, she falls, she says this thing, you it's probably like fuck, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
or she finds something that's great and says something that's probably like cool, you
yeah.
know. So those there's a kind of a thing, but that the rest is just purely
That's
aesthetic.
about as far as it goes. There's
Yes,
no,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
I
But
could see
how?
people just sit there and try to figure it out for hours.
Oh, I hope not. I hope not. No.
but it was a great system because one of my favorite. I love European graphic novels, and I'll always be checking out to see what Morvan and like Corby Ryan and like my favorite guys are doing. But the thing is I gotta wait like 3 years for them to get translated and maybe put out over here. Whereas with
Uh,
what you did, your book was accessible right away. You could just print it and send it to whoever around the world, and they could just buy this and read it. And I think that that's why you were able to like get an image deal with it right off the bat.
the whole point of like I've made a few comics. I've self-published for a while. The whole point of Mart Vallis is like a bunch of things coming together, but the foundation of it was meant to be pitched. Like this was the first thing that I could do that wasn't too dirty, that wasn't too weird, that could be commercially viable, but would also being a lot of fun and experimental. And one of the important things of the reasons for me doing this was to pitch it for the first time, and so that was the yeah. So I pitched it to Image, and they took it.
Did
You're
they
coming.
did they get on board before or after the Kickstarter?
So the whole idea of the kit, I like to make books myself. I love
Hmm.
making books. You know, from printing to choosing the materials, it's so important for me. I love so I was whatever I do, I'm going to print it myself first, but
First, all the
also
time. Yeah.
but also I was going to have copies in case I've never pitched anything. So
Mhm.
I don't know, but I wanted to be like, hey, I got this. Are you interested? I also have a printed copy. If you guys want to see it, I can send it. You get it tomorrow. You know, so I wanted to have everything ready.
Mm.
So I did the Kickstarter. I did my version of the book, and then they liked it. They took it, and then they made their version of the book. I mean, it's the same book, the same
Yeah,
concept, but different. You know, I don't know if you've seen both. They're actually pretty
I have
different.
them both. Yeah, I'm a
They're such.
support you any way I can. So yeah, I got the image version as well.
Thank you, thank you. No, I'm pretty happy. It's been great. I was expecting very mixed reviews because it is weird. Also, I'm not. I really don't have a. I really don't know how the American market works that well, right? Like you know, like they liked it at Image, good, but is it gonna work too? It's a big chance to take. It's not even in English. It's a weird little format. You know,
Mhm.
their version is pretty thin too. It feels like a really small comic. Also, I'm new, you know, and
Mhm.
it's a weird layout. It was made to be this size, but it means that there's only 2 or 3 panels per page. So it's all part of the process for my pacing, you know, because you're changing pages more often because there's not that much per page. But it's basically like a 50-page comic that I made 120 pages of so that it lasts a bit longer. But if you read it and you sit down and it's a 120-page book, it goes down, and I don't know how long do you take to read it, like 5 minutes. It's pretty fast, right? There's
No, actually, to tell you the truth, I soak it in, but it is a really fast, kinetic book. The best thing I'd say, like it has going for it, is your sense of pacing and like it's not hard to see where the action goes and is coming from. Like it's really fast. There's a lot of running, a lot of jumping off of stuff, but it never gets confused. It never gets muddled. You know panels lock in with each other, and not just because there's a few of them on the page, but all in all, I like to just stop and take in because your backgrounds are glorious.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank you.
detailed.
Thank you. And please take your time when you read it, because it takes so long to make a comic page. And it's so fast to read.
See, when I read a book, I mean, the art is just as important as the story to me. So I'll take the time, read panel by panel. I'll try to look to see what's going on in the panels. And so, like Johnny too, I soak every little aspect of every page, every panel. So yeah, I didn't burn through it in 10 minutes. That's for sure.
Good. And I think it leaves a lot up to, like, it's pretty open book too. I think if you recheck it out later, you give it a second spin, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, or I don't know. It was an experiment, I'm happy of how I didn't know how it was going to be received. I'm very happy. It was very well received. And but it was a big chance, right? It's a bit weird. There's a lot of comic books. I'm flattered that so many comic books took a chance. And then that they actually sold them. A lot were reordered. So that means people also went to the comic shop and took a chance too. And that's great. That's very great.
I try to force everybody I know to buy a copy. So yeah, I like to think I did my part.
Thank you.
Because I mean, when the Kickstarter was out, I was really pushing hard for it, and everybody else was kind of like, that looks all right. And then like they almost forgot about it. It was almost when Image announced that it was coming out, everybody I knew that I like was pitching it to was like, hey, this looks amazing. And I'm like, well, where was that enthusiasm a couple months ago when I was trying to get you to buy the damn thing?
I mean, thank you, but that's okay. I'm new at this, especially in the American market. This is my first book. Like I've got many more books to come. So for a beginning, I'm very happy with how this book is doing.
Speaking of which, on Kickstarter right now, you have an art book that still has a few hours to go. Do you want to go ahead and maybe plug Active Measures really quick?
It's a series of art books I've been doing for a few years. Once a year, I take all the stuff that I've done, the best stuff, and I have fun with layouts. I make mini comics. I put them together. I make a little book. I mean, I love making books. I've been doing this for 11, 12 years now, self-publishing. And yeah, I love these little books. It's not a comic. It's not a one story. It's just a bunch of stuff, right? It's just random stuff that I'll put together. But yeah, the latest one is volume 3. It's 2 years of work. Yeah, that's gonna be part of it. Oh, I had so much fun with this. There's a great comic about these. Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see your Star Trek with these with the Cheesecake Gang there, man. That'd be awesome.
I don't want to gloat, but I've got such great dialogues. It's going to be really funny. It's going to be great. It's really great. But this one, instead of 48 pages, is 100 pages because it's 2 years worth, because I printed nothing in 2020 because, I'm sure you guys heard. There was a pandemic. So, I printed nothing. So it's a lot of stuff. So it's 100 pages. And, yeah, Kickstarter is ending tomorrow. Like it's in 24 hours.
Yeah, there's 24 hours left. Yeah.
I was so worried because I did 2 at the same time. There's this book and a reprint of another book that I did, and I was so stressed. I'm like, can that work? 2 books, it's a lot to ask. But yeah, it went over funded. Kickstarter is such an amazing thing.
But yeah. I mean, I don't think it's too much because someone like myself, because I live in Canada and we always pay pretty hefty shipping prices. So I always like when a creator does like catch-up tiers where you can order like 3 books at once, because the initial shipping cost is high. And then anytime you add something on, it's only like a couple bucks more per book. So for me, it's worth it more to buy like 3 or 4 books at a time than individually. Sure. So like, and I see you have a catch-up tier where you can get all the 1, 2, and 3, which is great. I love it when creators give you those options where, okay, if let's say I just found you and I was like, oh, I like your stuff. Then you have a Kickstarter and I'm like, oh, I could get all your back catalog with this one tier. Then, it's a great option to have in your tiers. Yeah.
And it's fucking great for me too, because all those books are there. Right?
Yeah, you
they're
want to
in
move them.
they're in boxes and they're there, and if you want one, well, yeah, you can have one. You want one of each? Yeah, it gives
Yeah.
me a great opportunity to drop the price a bit, make a little bundle. It's nice. I like to, and so yeah. But yeah, it's great to move books too. Yeah.
And like Johnny
Well,
was
and you
saying before,
already have a
how
small library of these things, and you got like some sticker collections too that are available on your
That was a T-shirt. That was a
store.
T-shirt. Yeah.
Which you want to plug that really quick?
I mean,
Did it
I've
show up? I'm not. Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
yeah, I
yeah,
can see it. That's pretty old though. I don't have these anymore. That was a T-shirt. Yeah, a lot of. I mean, I've been doing this for 12 years. I've published 14 books so far. I published also other friends of mine. I just really love making books, and yeah, so most of them are ready to move. So if you want any, yeah, for sure.
Right there on the Clandestine Empire website, which is a great name, by the way. Is that probably going to be the name of your production company if you ever get kind of your own thing going, your own little imprint?
Oh, Clandestine Republic. I don't know. It's a name I came up with when, like, it's pretty complicated, but it's just a few years ago I lived in Hong Kong, and for immigration reasons, I needed to open a business. I've always wanted to make books, so I was making books, but I just had to make it official, and I had to choose a name, and this name popped up, and I used it. And now every time I move, depending on my immigration status, it's a different thing. It used to be a limited company, and now here in Germany, it's a personal company. So it's more to help me with immigration. It's my business, right? It's how I'm registered as. But it's just me. It's my business, and I publish books under that name. I guess you can call it a publishing company, yeah. But it's it's a small thing. It's just me and a bunch of boxes. But it's such a great thing. I love books. I really love making books. It's a weird obsession, I guess. Like I love drawing. I love making comics and stuff. But always, every project starts. I'm gonna find a format, a kind of paper. I'm automatically thinking of the what varnish I'm going to put on the cover, or like I knew from the beginning that this book, Mart Vallis, was going to be like that. It was going to be with that cover, with that size, and this kind of paper. I just love it.
What is
and
the varnish on the cover of it? Because it's got this really nice grip to it. I really
Ah,
love the way the book feels in my hand.
it's called soft touch varnish, and yeah, if I can afford it, thanks to Kickstarter overfunding, all my books are getting this because it's amazing.
okay.
Yeah, what a beautiful thing to touch, huh? I don't know if you both have both versions. Do you, Joe, have
No,
both
I
versions?
just
Which one do you have? You have the
I just ordered the one off Amazon, so the image version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, soft touch. I don't know where else you can find it. I don't know by head. I think I've seen some comics. I think there's I think Low. Low Image?
The Rick Remender book?
Yeah. I think their volumes, their trade paperback volumes, the covers have soft touch varnish on them.
Oh,
I'm
you'll
not.
dig it, Fred.
Yeah. Or or definitely. What's that? Ultra Mega.
Oh yes, yeah.
You have Ultra Mega. Ultra
Well, I
Mega.
have
The not the floppies. The trade
yeah,
paperback. The collected. That
yeah.
has definitely that has
The soft.
soft touch varnish. What a great
I'll
varnish.
I'll have to check it out the next time I go to the shop because I bought it
Yeah.
in the floppies, so I don't have the trade, but I have the floppy. So I know they have a copy of the trade at the shop. So next time I go in, I'll have to check that out to see.
Oh, it looks so good. I waited, and then because I waited for the trade and I just got it and I'm waiting to read it now. But yeah,
I gotta appreciate your just flair for detail because the way you search out materials, it really does come out with the best products. Because like I was trying to tell people about how wonderful your vinyl stickers were when we did our 25th episode because like those things are incredible. They feel great. They're actually kind of embossed and they're huge, man. They're just beautiful, and nobody else on Kickstarter puts out stickers as badass as you.
I keep asking, what do you want for stretch goals? And people say, yeah, I could keep this thing up with the stickers. People like stickers. I think it's a weird thing in our brains, right? Even if the sticker is something we hate, we feel compelled to stick it somewhere. People love stickers, right?
Well, I
But
think it's because a lot of the people that are reading comics that are like mine and Joe's age, we used to be skateboarders, we used to be punk rockers, and like that was a big thing in our life, man. You get a sticker of something you like, and you slap it on what your favorite thing, so that
What was that
personalized it.
board? That board brand that used to have like bad anime, like
Hookups.
yes, yes. I think those stickers. I could probably find one around here
Well,
somewhere. Yeah,
if they were still around, you could probably still draw. You'd probably draw for them. I mean,
absolutely.
you'd have
Yeah.
to animate your characters out a little more. You kind of got more of a graffiti style than I'd say anime, but I don't know, kind of paprika. There's a little. I can see some animes fitting into your art style.
It could work, but yeah, that's part of. I guess that's part of our culture, right? Hookup stickers. Yeah.
but
I still have a couple on my guitars, so yeah, that's funny that you brought them up.
I like the fact that, like, for stretch goals, like you said, you'd rather, like, the stickers are cool, but upgrade the quality of the book, like with, you say, the soft touch varnish, because it got overfunded. Like, that's stuff that I really appreciate when creators like, oh, this went really well, it funded really well, so let's go with a better, thicker cardstock cover. Or that's what I really like to see, is like, put it into the book. Yeah.
Making comics and making books like this is what I love most. It's like I'm barely keeping, like, whatever I'm overfunding, sure, I'll keep a bit, but definitely more than half of that is going back in the book. I can't help it.
Yeah.
Like
well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
This overfunded a lot more than I expected. So the reprint of the Los Lantis one, AMX, is getting now officially today. I just had the final talk with the printer. We're getting soft touch, and I'm getting him to also give me some glow in the dark spots on the cover. On the cover. Cool. I had to. That's a bit expensive, but hey, it's paid for with the Kickstarter. I'm like, I want to see that. I need to see that.
That is cool, because that's shit I like too. I love, like, I appreciate that kind of stuff, because I'm not a big trade paperback guy. Like, I'll buy them, but then I'll give them away to friends. Because, like,
really? Okay.
Often there's nothing special about them unless someone like you, like the soft, like Osaka Mime, I kept because it had some nice spot gloss and they did something a little extra to the cover. It's not just a straight up printed, like, I like it when you add little extra touches like you did, and then it makes me want to keep it after, instead of just, I'll read it, but then I'll just give it to a friend for, like, oh, you'll like this, read this. But those little extra touches makes me want to keep it in my collection on the shelf. And yeah, so it's not wasted for sure.
I mean, it's so much work to make a comic. I'm sure you're aware. It's so much fucking work that the least I could do is make sure it's a beautiful object too, right? Like, it cost me the same price as with the printers if I'm printing shitty work, right? The printer doesn't care what I print on the pages. If I give him files with ugly shit on it, it's fine. It's the same price. So it's my job to do the best I can to make sure, but the price is there. But if I can put a bit more money to make that a nicer object, something that's nicer to feel, or to, like, again, Mart Vallis, it was meant to be that size. It had to be that size in your hands, and it had to feel like that. It was all planned from the beginning, this comic, when I started drawing. And same with all the stories, the new books I'm working on. I'm thinking about the final format, how it's going to work, and I'm already thinking, there's a lot of things you could do. A gatefold, inside the book, open it up, there's an extra map or something, like crazy shit. Like, why not?
Like in Cloven, my wife just read it recently, and then she got to the page where it's like I think it's a triple fold out in the middle.
Nice.
Oh yeah, she's reading it, and then she gets that part, and she starts folding it out in bed, and it's like taking up like half the bed. Yeah, it was really cool. So yeah,
and it's like not
little
much.
Things like that. Yeah. And it's fun. It's a surprise. You get to the middle of the book and you get this like huge page that just folds out. It's a nice little surprise, and I mean, readers appreciate stuff like that for sure.
Also, paper. Oh, good paper. There's a lot to be. You know,
Yeah.
you get some floppies. Sometimes you're like, what? How much does this cost? 10 cents to print? It's almost
Yeah.
insulting. Guys, come
Yeah.
on! It's not that much more to make it. You know, don't
There's
stop printing on toilet paper. This is
there
crazy.
there's two companies I have a bone to pick with, and one it pains me because I love Dark Horse, but man, they're them and Marvel, like they don't invest in the actual product itself, like the
And they're the
quality of
two
the
most
product.
expensive companies out there too, which is the
Are
sore
they? I don't.
subject.
I know of them, of course, but I don't. I don't. I couldn't tell you. I didn't. I have never in my life bought a single Marvel or DC book.
But DC, they're a little. They'll do these cardstock covers. They'll do the prestige formats with. They'll do different paper stocks. Like for that, I appreciate DC, but Marvel rarely ever does anything like that. And I mean,
And
Dark
those
Horse,
books are
they're really good.
expensive, right? I mean, I don't know how
Yeah,
much. Like, it's all based on the floppy, right? It's the
mhm,
market is the floppy. How much
yeah.
is a floppy? Like a
$4.
prime
Three
four,
ninety nine. Yeah, exactly. $4. Yeah.
and that's what is that? 22 pages, 16.
22. Yeah, is usually the
But
standard.
what,
Yeah.
16 of story, and the rest is ads, or is it?
I think it's 22 story. No, and then
It's
Okay.
just
one.
ends up being
Yeah,
yeah.
you end up yeah, the 22 story, and then the rest is a bunch of ads. My Where I find them as one of the most expensive was, I'm a trade reader. I used to collect, but flippers and speculators, they killed the whole collector in me. So I'm about the reading experience. So I get trades, and Marvel, they have this four issue trade paperbacks that are $19. No questions asked. Like, they don't even have ones that are cheaper for some reason, and
You mean
that's
like four
ridiculous, dude.
floppies
It's four floppies long, and they want $19 for it.
glued together, and then yeah, that's a bit much. Yeah.
Yeah, see, like Image and like all the other companies, like you get a deal with the trade. Like you're getting like 8 issues, and it's going to be like $19. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't even get the floppy thing. I'm like 22 pages. You got to be. It's got to be in your culture. You got to be brought up reading comics like that, because I would much rather wait and get the actual book. You
that's
know,
right. You grew
the
up in
few
France,
flop.
right? They do the graphic novel format. Either that or it's comics run in magazines. But usually, you guys get like a graphic novel from your artist creators, and
Well, a
it's
comic in France is, yeah, it's a bande dessinée, it's a BD, it's a fucking book, right?
Mhm,
You cannot sell something if it's not hardcover, and
mhm,
it's A4, right? I don't know what that is. It's like 8.5 by 11
mhm.
ish. It's a big format, you know, and it's 48 to 60 pages, and it's hardcover. That's how you sell a comic. And
I
and
agree.
and now with mangas, you know, that's changed now. Now they're open to, you know, and I'm sure now you could find maybe in bigger cities like in Paris or Marseille, I'm sure you could find some American comics, you know, or translations, or, you know, they're all which is great. I love it because everything's mixing up. But
Yeah.
originally in France, it's a hardcover, 8.5 by 11, 48 to 60 page. That's the only way you can sell a comic. The American floppy would not last very long.
Get laughed out of the market at least.
I mean, when I was a kid, it was less. I mean, well, that was in francs and whatever. Like, I don't know how much a comic is worth now, but maybe like 15, $20. It's less pages, because for $20, you said you get an 88 page for Marvel, or you get probably a 200 page for Image, right?
Yeah, something like that.
For 20
Image
bucks.
trades are usually pretty big, about 6 to 8 issues long.
Yeah, I mean, it's just different formats, but it also changes the way the comic is made, right? Like we were talking about, like pacing and stuff. An 8.5 by 11 is usually about 4 to 5 rows. There's a lot more content per page, so it changes the storytelling a lot. When the smaller your page, the less panels you have, the more often you're flipping the page, the more excuse you have for these reveals, right? Every page flip. So I think it changes the medium too. It's funny, yeah. Or you look at what I discovered not so long ago, which was one of the things that made me do Mart Vallis's those, what is it, 60s, 70s Mexican historieta comics. That was one
Tijuana
of,
Bibles.
yeah, that was one of the things that inspired me to make this smaller format for Mart Vallis. Is I discovered this the last year, and I'm looking at it, and these pages have 2 panels. They're really small, right? They're like half the size of an American floppy, and there's just 2 panels. But what a completely different way to tell a story. And so you have a lot less space, but then you have these reveals every 2 panels, every four panels, because
4 panels, yeah.
And it's just such a fun thing. That was one of the main things that inspired me to make my Mart Vallis this size. It was meant to be this size because there's 2 to 3 panels per page, because it's meant to be,
Yeah, a quicker pace, yeah.
So yeah, but I like that now we can have access to everything, right? I mean, you look at most mangas are pretty small too. There's different formats out there, but now there's a lot of French kids making manga formats, or there's, we're translating comics from all over the world that are ending up in soft covers in France too, or here in Germany, there's not a big comic book scene, but like also in American comics, like still the superheroes and the floppies dominate, but that's not what's growing. When you're looking at the comic book scene in the US, what's growing is everything else.
Well, I mean, manga's huge here too. Like the
Yeah,
top selling
for sure.
everything is like what One Piece and Demon Slayer, I believe, are the best selling literature in our country, which is pretty funny, but it's
crazy.
cool. I
That's
mean,
crazy.
I'm all about world comics, so I mean, I'm happy to see manga blowing up because there are some really
Sure.
good ones, just not the ones that sell really huge over here.
Well, it's the same for everything, right? Like I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I am not at all a superhero guy, right? Yeah, I think you have to be raised into it. It has to be part of your culture to be into that. I'm not going to shit on that. It's just not my thing, right? But so as long as it's comics, like whether it's like, I've never read One Piece either, but as long as it's all the same thing. It's all comics, telling stories with images. What a beautiful medium. What an amazing, that it doesn't matter what it is, and we'll discover something new, or someone else will invent a new way to do it, and I'm like, yes, everything, yes. There's no, as long as everything can continue to exist, like, yes, I want to see new stuff. I want to see comics that are, I don't know, pop-up comics. I want to see choose your own adventure comics. I want to.
I actually saw one of those on Kickstarter that seemed pretty interesting. I was thinking of backing it. I forget what it was called, but yeah, there's a guy that's doing a choose your own adventure graphic novel. It was part of like one of those label, it's like the whole labels launch, but like that you could buy which books you're interested in from them.
A
Kickstarters. I'll have
label,
to look it up. Yeah, it like a imprint, a
like an
company's.
actual publishing company.
Yeah, but it's like a
I
really
find that
indie one.
weird. I don't know if that's just me. I find that weird that publishing companies are going on Kickstarter.
I think these ones are.
It bugs me
This
a
one
bit.
I've never heard of. I think that like they basically have a really good marketing type thing, and like they whole idea is to launch it on Kickstarter and do it as a Kickstarter and then split everything with the creators is kind of how I see it, because like I've backed a few of them and they're always companies I've never heard of. Usually like there are big name ones, like everybody knows when Keanu Reeves and Boom Studios tried to hop on Kickstarter and act like we're so indie, we need your money, but like
I saw that. How much did they make? $1 million or something?
yeah,
Yeah,
everybody bought it, that's for sure.
That's insane. But I mean, they're good for them because they had, what I mean, what it bugs me is like when actual publishing companies go on Kickstarter. I get it; they're making a lot of money, but it's kind of weird because I don't know. It feels like they're taking advantage of it. Kickstarters for I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's changed.
No,
and stuff,
you're
but
not.
when I see
No, you're
No.
not. It's happened just recently with an image book where
Image
I'm
on
not
Kickstarter.
there's a creator that releasing their book with Image, and they went on Kickstarter to fund it. And right now, everyone that ordered the books through their comic shops have gotten their books, and the backers for Kickstarter haven't even gotten their PDFs, the ones who back digitally. So they haven't even gotten PDFs. Whereas the physical book, because it came out as an original graphic novel, and it's been released in comic shops, but a lot of backers
Oh.
haven't gotten their digital backing tiers
Oh
yet.
no, there's one in the comic book shop, and you're still waiting. Oh shit! No, I mean,
Yeah,
like, wait, but it was picked up by Image, and then Image funded the book on Kickstarter.
I don't know how this happened, because this book, the first volume came out on Image, and now the second
Okay.
volume, for some reason, they went to Kickstarter.
Ah,
it's
but maybe
released-
it's not Image. Is it Image?
Yeah, it's released. The book is released by Image, from what I understand. Yeah, it is weird. It's really weird.
I mean, if it didn't sell enough the first one and he wants to continue, then it's his property, right? So he wants to continue
Yeah.
the series. Then he goes on Kickstarter. It surprised me that Image would go on Kickstarter. But that's really weird because they gotta flow, right? I'm like, I don't know how much money they have, but that's what a publisher is. They're taking a chance on something. If you like it, then publish it.
Image is so hands off, though. They let the creators kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah.
It's a complete creator owns thing. So it's probably this guy, and like I wouldn't really say that Eric Stevenson or like Robert Kirkman or any of the Image guys have any hand in him taking it to Kickstarter. I think
It would
it's just
surprise
him
me
being
if
greedy.
Image went on Kickstarter. Yeah, because they're publishing books. They're taking chances on stuff, and they're Kickstarter. I don't know. Maybe it's probably him who's doing his own thing because Image,
it was in the solicits before the Kickstarter was even done or anything. Like in the Diamond, like it was in the Diamond previews to order it before the Kickstarter was done.
That's weird.
It is weird. And there's another company, Johnny knows who, but I don't back their Kickstarters anymore. I just order them straight through my comic shop because I've done 2 Kickstarters and ordered 3 books, and every time I receive the book through my comic shop before the Kickstarter backers get their books in their hands.
And the sad thing about this one
I save $30. I save $30 on shipping because the comic shop absorbs the shipping cost through Diamond. So I save $30 on that book, and the only difference is maybe mine doesn't have a foil title. Like it's not written in foil; it's just regular.
Oh, and you don't get that Peach Momoko art sometimes too.
Yeah, but I mean, for a $30 difference, I'm gonna screw the foil. My main concern is getting a book. And
the thing that sucks most about that company, though, is it's one of the few companies that actually translate and release European comics in the United States, and their Kickstarters have been running so crappy, and they pissed so many people off that they've turned so many people off from buying their comics, which is going to hurt the whole translation market, in my opinion, because
that's too bad.
Yeah, because I love their books. Like I still buy their books. I just don't back their Kickstarters because I love their books. Like,
I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I see Kickstarter as a place to fund because you don't have any money, right? For 11 years, I've been self-publishing. I never had money to make. It's because of Kickstarter. I'm new to. I used to just do pre-orders, right? But it's the same thing. People are trusting me and decide to buy something that doesn't exist yet, and with that money, I'm going to get this thing made. And it's a bit of a stretch. If you're a publisher, you're in business because you're sitting on a bit of money. That's your gig. That's what you're doing. You're taking a chance on someone, you like it, and you're funding it, and then you're betting that you're going to get your money back, and then more, and then to go on Kickstarter, it feels like it's a bit of a I don't know. I don't like it when that's why I'm surprised that if this guy did this. I think it's the Image book there. I'm surprised. I don't see Image starting a Kickstarter, but maybe they did. But it could be, with Image, it's pretty open, right? They're getting the rights to do their thing with it, but they don't own the books. Like I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised when I signed with them. They have the book, but they really do not care what I do with my books.
But I think that's a responsibility that whether we're talking about a creator or a publisher, that you're coming to people and asking them to help you create this.
That's what it is. You're asking.
So they're part of the process, right? Yeah. So I think you have a responsibility to take care of those people that helped you create this. Whereas then you just turn to a retailer and be like, give them priority when they didn't foot the bill, right? Mm-hmm. All these people who backed your project helped foot the bill to help you get this made. Then you turn around and be like, all right, now I'm going to give it to comic shops, and kind of the backers become an afterthought, which is a little bit insulting for the people who took a chance on this person and they didn't get the respect,
I mean, there's so many ways this can go. This almost happened with my book, with Mark Vallis. I was really late because I got an order that was blocked in customs with UPS.
Okay.
It delayed everything by 3 months.
Okay.
Still very, very, I think there's only a handful of people who noticed that the image version came out in the bookstore before they had my version.
Okay.
But it was a fluke. It was very few, but it was a fluke because the original was just meant to be my book, and my book is very different,
Yeah.
And then Image picked it up, and then I was like, I'm in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry, but I was ready. Like they were gonna publish it later, but I was like,
Yeah.
Like now, because it came out in July with Image, and mine was released like a few months before. That it was not part of the plan. That just happened, right?
Yeah.
Where I was lucky to be able to be pushed out fast by Image, and at the same time, I was a little slow with the Kickstarter. But I'm not a company, and it wasn't planned like that.
Yeah.
Well,
but I
you
think
were hugely
the company
transparent
thing would
with us
buzz me.
too. You kept us in the know with the updates.
Yeah,
You
transparency.
never-
Yeah.
I tried. Yeah,
We
I mean,
had
it's
our
a lot of money.
Kickstarter. Yeah, we
It's
had
a
our
lot of
Kickstarter episode last week, so we're talking about this a little bit, and like we know things can go wrong. Like I've had a few Kickstarters where the creators it was a nightmare. Production was a nightmare for them, and they had so many issues. But they gave constant updates of what was happening, what the issues were. There was like 100% transparency, which is good because as a backer, you know what's happening, you know what the issues are, like they keep, as long as you keep the people in the loop, so they're not, because people can get nervous and be like, what the fuck's going on? Am I going to get screwed on this? Or so I think it's important to be honest, transparent with the backers and let them know exactly what's going on, what happened. Like you said, there's so many factors after you send that off that you don't control. You don't control the trucks, you don't control the printers, you don't control all these.
If you've never done this before, especially printing books, there are always delays. There's 100 things. There's 100 things for you that you're going to do wrong. There's 100 things that can just happen. Just processing like 300 books, so 300 boxes, labels. You got the address. The Kickstarter system for the addresses is very dumb. It's very unpractical. But then there's always like, at least 20% of people who will gonna need something special. Like, oh, I already had that book, I ordered it, but can you do this? Or like this, or can you sign my book for this? Or like all these special things. And that's just Post-its on my computer. They're adding up and there's 300 orders and you got to ship them. And if you haven't done this before, if you don't have a system with your boxes, with how you wrap them, with your labels, with your post office, if you don't have all that, you can easily add months of delay that you did not plan for. That's if everything's right with a printer, but nothing is always, especially, for first time, especially books, so many things can happen.
I think that having a working relationship with your printer might be a good idea, because a few that I've backed, the guys actually meant to have it out on time. They busted balls to get their books done, and they get it back from the printer, and the reds are orange. You know what I mean? And it's supposed to be a black, white, and red book, and you got this clown-looking thing. So they have to get it reprinted again, and then it gets back, and the cover's misprinted, and then they get and like these guys literally took pictures of like the proofs of concept to show us that like they're not the printers are hosing them, but like the thing is like we ended up getting our books half a year late because of it, and it's not these guys' fault really.
No, for sure. If you don't know, for sure, I always do my own press checks. I always work with local printers, so I'm gonna go and do the press check. So there'll never be any problems with printing, because I'm there. I'm doing the press check. It takes a day. I love doing it, but if you print with companies where you can't go do your own press checks, you don't know. And it's not necessarily their fault either. The printer, the files they get, offset printing, the way it works, it's not obvious. I've given up on trying to make the printed copy what I thought it would be when I was doing the art. For me, the final project, the final art is not my art. It's the book when it comes out of the presses. I know that the reds are going to be way brighter on the presses. I know that they're going to have a hard time with certain colors. And when I do the press check is when I decide this is what, like there's all these little elements, but my painting, the cover that I did for the book I know that it has many generations to change and warp. And
Yeah.
for me, the final version, I know this from the beginning when I'm drawing it, is going to be me and the press man deciding boost a green, boost a yellow here, boost a little less blue there. And that's the final version. So I've given up on trying to get exact copies of what, because that's just not how it works. But if you can't be there for the press check, then yeah, you can get a lot of weird surprises. Yeah, orange reds is the least of them. You can also have pages that don't line up, right? Because they're printing on both sides. And if they're a few millimeters off, then your centers don't work. And I mean, I've heard horror stories where a friend of mine who got a comic printed and there's just like an entire chunk missing. The books are finished. Here they are. They're finished. They're ready to go. And there's like 12 pages that just aren't there. What do you do? So you got like 2,000 books to recycle now. You can't sell that, right? And start again, you know, and they'll redo it for you, but that's like you're adding extra weeks, a month. Anyway, yeah, a lot of things can happen that delay you. I get it why a lot of Kickstarters are late.
I don't mind, to tell you the truth. As long as you keep me up to date and let me know what's happening. If you just disappear on me, then I will get a little pissy with you. But if you tell me that, like, yeah, dude, like we sent it off and it came back and it was orange instead of red, I'll be like, okay, that's all right, man. Like, because at the end of the day, I don't think that they leave me waiting as long as some formats. You know what I mean? There are like anime shows like that I watch, like Attack on Titan, where like legitimately between the first and second season, like it was like 4 years, and it's like, this is like the biggest show in the world. How do you do that?
Yeah.
But one thing I'm really happy to see, and I hope this is a thing that kind of pops off because this would be good money for you, is you did a cover for Ninjas vs. Robots, which is incredible. I love the robot on this so much. And covers is such great work for up-and-coming guys like you. Do you have any more covers lined up that...
I've had people ask, and I have a hard time saying no. I love doing this, but I have so many. I'm finishing this book, and I'm moving next month, changing countries again. So boxes everywhere. It's like, but the goal, everything is being lined up. I just want to make comics. Yeah. I just want to, and I have more stories than I have time to tell them. So I love all this stuff, but I lost a year this year saying yes to all these different art books and stuff, and it's fun, and I can't say no, and I'm happy I did them. But I look back, and comics takes everything. Comics takes all the time. If you want to make comics, it takes all your time. It'll take months and years for story, and you don't have time for anything else, and I'm okay with that. But that means I gotta. So yeah, I'll probably do 1 or 2 other covers. I've had people ask, and I can't say no, and they're all. I'm pretty lucky. It's all a lot of fun stuff to do too. But in the end, the priority has to be comics. And after this move next month, that's all I want to do.
Look at how cool that robot is, man. That is like one of my favorite robots I've ever seen. I love that cover so much. I might get a tattoo of that robot.
But you know the comic, right? You know,
yeah.
like, so he sent me drawings of it, and I was like, oh, how can I? Oh yeah, that's perfect expression. You don't know if he's angry or just this kind of weird blank. I don't know.
Well, I love that it's like a retro, like pulp era robot, but very graffiti at the same time. I mean, it's just such a beautiful aesthetic that you've made. And what are some of your influences, by the way, that kind of got this kind of just really hyper stylized, beautiful art style of yours?
Thank you. I mean, I don't know. It's the way. How do you draw? I draw a lot, right? I draw like every day. I draw for hours. So I guess influence. I never went to art school. I just drew a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that I like. It never usually lasts that long. It's weird. Like I'll discover an artist, and then I'll be like, "This is awesome." And then it's not that I get sick of it. It's just that I learn to understand it. They still stay there. I still like what they do, but the wheel shuffles. There's new names constantly, and then it replaces. You know, there's only 2 artists that have never changed in 20 years, and you probably know it. You'll see in my work, Rocking Jelly Bean. Do you know Rocking Jelly Bean?
No, I'm not
He's a,
familiar
oh,
with
you
him.
should Google that. You're gonna love that. He's a Japanese. I'm gonna say poster artist, like illustrator. He does a lot of. He used to do a lot of silkscreen posters for music bands, whatever. He's
Okay.
illustrator. I've loved him since I discovered him when I was 14, and I haven't like he's a huge influence. And another one very different, and I don't paint like that at all. But Ashley Wood, you know Ashley Wood,
Oh, of course, yeah,
yeah.
she's legendary.
So he's such a great artist, and I have some originals from him. I love his work. I do not. What I do has nothing to do with his stuff, but I can never get sick of his stuff. And he'll show a new painting that he did, and I'm like, fuck, that's the new best thing, like that. And it's been like that since many years. He's in a way one of the reasons I got into comics. Not he would do a lot of. He used to do more comics before. I'm not. I used to work in a comic book shop when I was younger, and I always liked comics. But one day I fell on, I don't know if you know Pop Bot. It's a series
Yeah,
he had, so very like non-commercial, not it's his style, right? It's like, but it's not that I was into the story or anything. It's just that these books that I had found, the comic book shop where I worked, the owner would really take chances with weird stuff, and that was one of them. It just blew my mind that it could have been anyone else. It was him. There are no rules. There are no rules in comics, and that's I learned this with Ashley Wood. I was young. I found one of his books, and one page is an oil painting. The next page is a scratchy, and he's telling a story, and it exploded my mind. It was a revelation. I had always loved comics. Once in a while, some more original stuff comes along, and it's like cool. But this, for me, was at a defining time where I decided, oh my God, there's no fucking rules. You can do whatever you want. What a beautiful medium.
and I love that
So
that's getting explored so much nowadays because like we are in what I consider to be the third golden age of comics, and it's probably the best one in my opinion. Like just on sheer variety alone, because a lot of the other golden ages they were built around superhero shit, and like you, I mean, like I grew up with it. I do like some books, but like I'm over it for the most part. Nowadays, you get Mart Vallis, you get you know, books like Carmen and the stuff that Maria Lovett's doing, and
I saw that.
it's
That was
just
great.
incredible. You know what I mean? And you never got this in any other time in comics, and it's just incredible. It's just so exciting.
Well, I grew up on two continents. I'm French. I'm born in France, but my mother's Canadian. So I grew up on both. I was thrown around a bit. And so I had access to American comics. The comic book shop that I worked on was in Canada, was in Montreal, and
Oh
so
shit.
I
Okay.
yeah, I used to work at Captain
Yeah.
Quebec.
Oh fuck. Yeah, I lived
Yeah.
in Montreal for 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I lived a few years in West Island and Mile End,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
anyway, so I started working. I was 16. I worked at Captain Quebec, and uh, what was I saying? Sorry.
About you read both European and American comics, so
Yes.
you're kind of
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of had access to both. I was never into superhero books. It's just not my thing. But but it's funny because I grew up also with French comics and European comics. But when I chose and I decided at a young age I needed to do comics for my life to do this, it was always, it wasn't the American mainstream, but it was definitely the American. I wouldn't call it underground, but independent. Is that what do you call Bone or Hellboy or all
indie.
that indie,
Yeah.
right? We're indie. So that is what I wanted to do. Like even like I love a bunch of stuff from France, from all over. I've discovered stuff from all over the world that influenced me. Or Ashley Wood is Australian, or whatever. But or like scenes. But I guess the format, not the size necessarily, but the way to tell a story. What made me decide that I wanted to do this with all the influences in the world. But it was indie American comics. There's something about it. Again, with the discovering people breaking those rules, it's such a beautiful thing. It's such an amazing medium. It's an obsession, I think. Yeah, definitely. To want to make comics, you have to be obsessed with it. There's no way to cheat. I mean, some people cheat. Yeah, there's some people who cheat. But if you're telling your own stories and if you're drawing them, there's no way to cheat. It's so demanding. It takes so much, and it takes me days to make pages that you read in minutes. You've got to be obsessed. It's an obsession, for sure. But it is by far my favorite medium. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, movies sound like a lot of fun, but I would never move to like, it's a powerful medium, movies and TV and stuff, but there's
It's so
nothing
controlled, right? Like, you'll have to
And
go
so
through
many
so many
people.
communities. Yeah.
You rely on so many people to get it made. Yeah.
and you need so much money, and you got to deal with people who, it's not that they're not creative, it's that they're not creative and they think they are. You know, all these movie executive. Oh, I can't imagine having to laugh at their jokes just because you need to make your thing and you're in love with your idea, but it happens to, it's going to cost 10 million. Where the fuck do you find 10 million? You know, like, or even if it's less, it's always a lot of money. A comic I could literally do right now. I could steal paper and a pen and make a comic. I could do this by myself. I could have the
probably be
craziest
better than
idea.
any film right now, because we're
I
in
mean,
a very boring time for movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, we had a lull with the pandemic. No, didn't that slow things down?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I
Even
went to see a
before
few
then, though, it
movies.
was pretty boring. Like, we had Christopher Nolan's the biggest name in the world. Like, it's
Oh,
boring time
and
for Nolan.
what a filmmaker!
I
No?
guess.
No, are you not? I saw Tenet. I had to see it 3 times. I love it. It blew my mind. And then I was like, where's the book? Like, he made his version of a book. No, he wrote it. It's his story. What the fuck? The guy's a genius. You didn't like Tenet?
I liked what was that one that he did?
Inception.
Yeah,
Good.
that one was okay.
Okay, I like the concepts. You like the way he tells a story or not, that's something. But what a crazy idea to build these huge worlds, but not to go in depth into them. He's telling one story. It's a love story between this guy and his wife went crazy and the kids, and that's the story. But in this beautiful world that he built that has so much potential, but he's only there to tell his story. What a great thing. Or Tenet. I thought there was nothing, that no one could ever write something about time travel that would impress me. I've seen it all, and this blew my mind. What an incredible concept, and what an original way to talk about time travel. That amazes me. I'm a Nolan fan.
I haven't seen Tenet yet. I'll have to.
Oh,
I think it's
shit.
out. I think it's out.
Sorry.
Right? I haven't seen it yet.
I hope
it's all right.
I hope I didn't spoil it.
I'm much like
That's
like I am with comics. I'm into world cinema. I'm much more interested in what the Koreans and the Japanese are doing, and I don't think that gets enough love over here. So I'm a little jaded, but I'll definitely check his movies out again with an open mind and maybe see what you see. Because I mean,
have you seen Tenet?
No, I haven't watched Tenet yet.
I should shut up.
After his boring war film, I was kind of just done with him.
Yeah, that was like, I mean, I guess, it's the craft too. Like, when you're telling stories, there's different ways of, it didn't feel like one of his mind-blowing masterpieces. Of course not, it's just, he's telling a story, and if you like it, it's always very cinematic and at big screens, and it's kind of, I don't know if I could see his style yet, in what was it, Dunkirk?
Yeah.
But stuff like Inception, or what's the one with the magicians?
Prestige.
Oh, fuck, that was good too. Or Tenet, what a great... I recommend it. I highly recommend it. It blew my mind. If not for the storytelling, just the concept. Someone, I hope this doesn't ruin it for you, but there's a thing in it about time travel. It's not really. You'll see. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna spoil
I'll
it.
definitely watch it. I'm gonna.
Interstellar is the one I really liked of his, but I didn't
Oh,
like
that
the
was good.
middle part. But I loved the beginning and the end. I thought that like the opening act and the last act were beautiful, but the middle part needed a little work. It was a little too Mission to Marsy, but
Oh fuck!
Interstellar was glorious. I
I
will
get the
give it
Inter-
that.
waterworks. I get the waterworks with fucking a lot of stuff, but Interstellar. Oh my god, that
I want to
scene at
make.
the end.
I want to
Did
make
you
sure I'm
see it?
not.
Did everybody see Interstellar?
Interstellar is that the one with McConaughey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. That was good. I enjoyed that one.
Okay, that scene at the end when he sees his daughter again, but she's older than him.
Mhm.
Oh my god, that
Yeah.
every time gets me. I have to put it on pause and go somewhere else for a few seconds. Oh, I'm crying like a baby. That scene, insane.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. I enjoyed that because I sometimes get confused between him and Denis Villeneuve when I'm watching movies. Like,
now
Okay.
he
what was
has
the?
he has some talent if he just quits doing adaptations and
Yes,
sequels.
exactly. I was going to
If
say,
he gets back to telling
Measure,
his stories again.
Mhm.
but oh yeah, what with Arrival? How good is Arrival?
Arrival. That's it. I was
So
trying to make sure
good.
I wasn't confusing Arrival and Interstellar because
Mm.
sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's it, and I was like, oh shit, and I feel
What a
stupid.
beautiful story, Arrival. Oh, that was
Yeah,
great too. Or
yeah, that was great.
Sicario. Sicario is a great movie too. Or you're in Canada, right, Joe? Or
Yeah, yeah,
do you get French or
yeah. I
like?
live in Quebec. Yeah,
Oh, there you go. So you probably know him from
yeah.
before he got big. Like he
Well,
did
I've
some
I've seen
beautiful.
some. Yeah,
He did a few beautiful movies before before he switched to English, before he went to Hollywood, like before the big productions. He did some beautiful
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. But Quebec cinemas had a hard go of it of late. I found there's a lot less stuff coming out. Like for what was it in the '90s? Like there were so many great movies coming out of Quebec from cinema, and then I don't know if what happened, but I find there's less and less as much that I enjoy is back from like '90 to the mid 2000s. There was a lot. Like I was watching a lot of Quebec like filmmakers and their movies, and I find I'm watching less and less. I don't know what it is.
Less funding? Could it be less funding? Because they did depend a
It's
bit more
still
on.
yeah, it's all subsidized still.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the funding. I don't know if it's more accessibility. Like
Mhm.
because I do mostly streaming now, and it's a pain in the ass to stream stuff here because
You think they're still being made? You just don't have access to them.
I just don't think I have as easily access to them unless I go to the cinema, which I barely go to anymore.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah,
I've stopped too.
yeah. So
Yeah, because I used to watch a lot of Mexican films because I grew up in California, and they have a great horror scene, and I thought that slowed down because I moved away from California, but like they just don't get released anywhere besides Mexico and places where a lot of Mexicans live. So, but I talked to my brother, and I guess that they're actually huger than ever right now. So yeah, it might just be that you're in a place where you're just not able to access them.
So this stuff still, I mean, it's hard to. Yeah, and then imagine all the stuff that's being made that you don't even know yet that you might love.
Straight
There's so
up.
much crazy shit
it is.
out
It's
there.
crazy. Just everything. There's just so much of it now. It's hard to keep up.
And that's why superheroes bug me, because they're putting so much money on that stuff, and there's so much crazy, amazing stuff out there. And you put a budget, an Iron Man budget on any movie, it'll be, like it's not. It's just it's the same story. They're telling you the same story over and over and over again.
It is.
And
I'm
I don't
getting
want to.
burnt
I don't
out.
want to. I don't want to bash on it. I'm totally. I have a lot of friends who are big fans, and it's cultural. They grew up with it. They need it.
Well,
but there are other things out there. So many more other things. I want to see more weird shit. More new. Let's make stuff that doesn't exist. Come on.
Yeah. Like I'm getting burnt out on the whole superhero movie and shows thing. Like it was fun. Like have a superhero movie with that big budget where they have the effects and they could really translate it well onto the big screen was great. But like you said, they haven't evolved in the last 10 years since that Iron Man movie came out. Like it hasn't really evolved that much since then.
We're lucky we got a break with the movie switch, but they've been telling the same stories since when?
Yeah.
How old is Superman? It's the same fucking story. And in the
Yeah.
70s, when we had this big, like culturally and all over the world, there was like a big cultural jump. People tried more things. There were more chances, and then they retold these stories. And I feel like the last possible juice you could squeeze out of that came out in the 70s. After that, it's over. There's nothing more to tell, and it's just big companies that don't know what they're doing. Like these companies, they're not great or not great. It's just that the people, it's the people who make those comics who had these ideas. And those guys are gone. It has nothing to do with Marvel. It was Kirby that made all that great stuff. And then these executives at Marvel, they're making money with this, and they don't understand the recipe, but they need to continue making money, so they repeat it. And they hire other people to try to redo the same thing. And if you grew up in that, then it's magic, and I understand it. But if you didn't, or if it's not your thing, then oh my God, it's the same story over and over. And there, all these artists and all these writers could be working on so many other things.
Well, the neat thing about it is it kicked the whole comic book thing open and it got people interested. And at least with the streaming shows, we're getting so many really neat things out of that. We got all the Mark Millar stuff. I think it's Netflix or somebody's doing
Mhm.
Matt Wagner's Grindel. That's going to get a live action adaptation finally. I mean, we're getting some neat stuff out of it, but
It's fun to see that stuff become live. It's
Mhm.
great. It's a lot of fun, but it's same thing. We just change mediums, and are they going to do that for another 70 years? Like, and they're all like triple movies now, and it's all the same stories. Aren't all these movies comics too? Like, aren't they like just straight up lifted and adapted?
what the
Some are,
Marvel
some
stuff.
aren't. It depends. Yeah.
I would say like a lot of them are very loosely adapted, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like you said, like all you got to do is contextually have what's supposed to be there, and you basically have told it. You know what I mean?
And
They
there's
light
the
heart
great
everything. Like some of the movies are based off of books that are a little more hardcore, but and they turned them into big Disney comedies, but it is what it is, and like I see it as like light pop or microwavable popcorn cinema. You know what I mean? You just watch
for
it and
sure.
have
It's
a good time
Hollywood.
with it, and then it's done, and you go watch something better after it's over.
Yeah, it's a movie that you forget everything about as soon as it ends. But while you were there, it was enjoyable. And one thing that they are great at, actually, I just want to say that though, they're trailers. Marvel, Marvel movie
I
trailers are incredible. The theatrics are mind blowing. Every time there's a trailer, like I appreciate, like I would watch just the trailers of all these movies. The movies, I know it. I know the story. It's the same story over and over. But the trailers are so amazing. You can feel your heart rate going up, and it's just such a. I don't know. They have a gimmick. They figured it out. I think they have their own directors for the trailers, right?
Well, one of the
If,
neat things
possibly.
about the film industry and comic books, though, is a couple of the other creators that we've had on to talk. They were screenwriters and people that were actually like employees to become directors at some point in their career. They went to school for it, and then they saw the bureaucracy and the bullshit, and they were like, "Hey, I can make my own little movies on paper, and people love them just as much or more in this comic book medium," and that's happening. And I think that that's great. I really think that we need more like creatives that see things in a cinematic way, because I mean I love like really cool, neat, weird, surreal mind trip stuff, but at the same time I really love those hyper cinematic comic books that have been coming out in the last couple of years, because there are a lot of comic books come out and they are films on paper, and I think that that's a really neat way to do them.
I think there's a lot of things that have been filmed and ways that have been filmed, and people have grown up with this, and it's in our heads now how things are presented, and they're kind of cliches or recipes that come from the screen. You look at the Matrix when they came out and all that it was a mix of a lot of things from old kung fu movies to video games to all these mediums are mixing up, and yeah, I read a lot of comics too now where I'm like, this is I know that they saw it as a movie while they were writing this. You
Right.
know, like the scenes, these are cliches, these are recipes, but it's good, it's fun, mix it all up, have fun. You know, there's so many great things. But yeah. I think mediums are mixing, and it's great.
So, for telling your little own stories and making your own little movies out of your imagination, what do you have in the pipeline for us? Is there anything you can kind of hint at, comic book wise, for us that are foaming at the mouth for something new from you?
Really? Sure. I mean, I always have a hundred ideas for story continuously, but I have a very specific plan. So yes, I can tell you that I'm moving next month, and part of the idea of the move is that I'll be able to just do comics. And I'm moving for about a year and a half in this place for one book to make this next book. And it's what can I say about it? It's going to be I'm going to try for the first time. I really wanted to try the floppy thing. So I'm writing the story to cut it up, and it's going to be American format, the comic book format, and I'm estimating between 200 and 300, being generally like about 200 and 300 pages, the whole story. But I really want to try to release it as floppies, monthly, and what can I say about it?
And how will this be released? Through Kickstarters, or is it going to be through a publisher, or self-published, or?
This one is going straight to publisher.
Okay.
I'm not sure who I'm going to pitch it around. Yeah, you know, I'm going to see, but I have my ideas, my theme, But I learned so much when I published Marthalis, and I was following online the hashtags, and I just realized, like, I hadn't been to the States in so long. I just realized how important in the American comic book business the floppy is. You know, all this new comic book Wednesday, it's all just floppies, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's amazing. And I kind of see the link too with TV shows. You know, when you have this
like
episode,
episodic. Yeah,
it's kind of a fun medium. It's very, like, it changes the way you write things, right? Because you have to have, it's not just a part of your story anymore. It has to be kind of self-contained. Like, it can be a part of the story, but it needs its own arc. You know, the 22 pages, or maybe I could do more, 30, 40, pages, but the monthly episode has to have its own arc within so it's a bit of a challenge, but I really want to try it.
Because you want people to come back each month, so you got to give them something and enough to, it's a balancing act. Yeah, it's a juggling act for sure.
But you also want the reader to have, not just a fucking cliffhanger
all the time.
Know, a bit of substance. For me, 22, I can't do short stories. 22 pages is not enough. It's probably going to be a few more pages than that.
Well, but that's Ultra Mega was that. It was about close to 60 pages per issue.
And they did almost a graphic novel every issue.
Yeah. And I love that because you got a nice meaty story every month,
you get something you can sit down with and you feel like you've read something, not just a part of something.
See, and I heard people like, oh, it's expensive. Yeah, but it's because you got like 3 comics in one. That's why it's more expensive. It's a thicker book. You're getting more story, right? So
yeah, 60 you got to
still. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you got to explain that to people. They're like, oh, they look at the price on the cover, but they don't think of the page count. Yeah, normally.
How much was it? How much was it?
I think they were $7.99.
99. Yeah.
Plus, Image doesn't do ads, so like the whole thing was just comic. So.
Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. Like, I loved it. I ate that up. Like, I love getting a thick book like that. Like, it barely fit in the bag and board, right? Like, you could barely get that mofo in there. It was, like, awesome. I loved it. And it was a cardstock cover. It was, like, everything I loved. A thicker book with a cardstock cover. It was pretty damn close to being an original graphic novel, which was amazing. Like, that's... Like,
I waited.
Yeah,
I skipped on that. I was waiting. I didn't know. I waited for the trade paperback. I got the trade paperback, but I'll try to find one of these so that I know what you're talking about. But that sounds great. I guess that's kind of where I want to go. I like the idea of a monthly episode.
Yeah.
But I can't. that's a whole other art form. To be able to hook a reader with 22 pages is insane for me. I'm not there yet. That's not. I like taking my time. I like taking a 2-page spread to have just a little sequence that's just fun to watch, or taking a whole page to put a diagram of the backpack. What's in the backpack.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. For me, I love to play with this space. So,
I think you'll like, if you read the letters in the back, James Herron wrote like a letter after the first issue of Ultra Mega and said, like, listen, I have no set format. He's like, each issue is going to be its own, like you said, its own issue. There's an overreaching story, but each issue, if it takes 60 pages to tell the story, it takes 60. If it takes 40, it's going to take 40. He didn't have a set for each issue. Like, each issue is 60. Like he said, each issue could have a varying number of pages depending on the story. He's like, the story is going to dictate the number of pages, which was awesome. Like, I thought that's the way you got to approach it, right?
The less limits, the less rules, the better, right?
Yeah.
That sounds really good. So, yeah, I'll find some way to do a monthly version of this story, which is, I don't know how to explain it. I'm going to try not to make it look too much like Ghost in the Shell or Blade Runner. That should explain where I'm going
already, man. Take my money and give me the book. Yeah. Like you just said, too
sci-fi cyberpunk.
Ish, yeah, not too far into the future, but definitely into the future. And it's a cop story, and there's a great twist. It's a bit political. There's some weird shit. And I'm going to take my time telling it. That's why I can't do 22 page. I want these long spreads. There's a lot of scenes. And that's my next book, and it's going to take me a year to make it. And I want to start releasing it before it's finished. That's why I want to try the monthly. I'll have a few issues ready. I'm going to find a publisher for it. And and it'll have real dialogues in English. You'll be able to read it.
I don't think it'll be a hard sell, because looking at your art is beautiful. And I saw you post something this week about how you tried to start working digitally, like painting it in. Was it last week? And you're like, it took me way longer than if I would have just painted it by hand.
Oh yeah,
I saw your comment. Yeah,
I'm new to digital. I think 1 month ago I got my first I just got a Wacom. I'm learning with it. I didn't even have a mouse. All of Mark Vallis, I did it with the trackpad on my 2007 MacBook Pro.
Okay.
All the coloring, you can't draw with it, so you've got to select it took me forever to color this. I wanted to do it digitally, but with weird textures and stuff, but they're all flat, like for Mark Vallis specifically. It was just like all flat tones. It took me forever. And now I'm new with digital. I'm learning. I want to learn. It's such a great, I wouldn't call it beautiful, but such a great medium, such a powerful medium. Well, but a lot of frustrations. I will draw much faster. I remember you said
in your thing, you're like, I thought I was going to save tons of time, but it ended up taking me longer.
Mark Vallis was a headache. I was like, let's go. Let's do this digitally. But all I have is a 2007 MacBook Pro, not even a mouse. So I was doing this on the trackpad, and incredibly frustrating. It took me way longer than it should have, but I persevered, and I finished it. 128 pages. Fuck.
Yeah. Best book of 2021.
And it would. Thank you. And it was fun to draw, but it was a pain in the ass to color because of this.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying.
And your new book, are you going to go traditional, or are you going to go try to do digital again with your new one?
I don't think I'll ever draw digital. You know what I mean? I'm going to draw by hand. I love drawing by hand. Mm-hmm. I'm going to, if I can learn to, with the Cintiq to get, I think eventually it's going to get me faster for color and stuff, but never with lines. Like I'm just going to ink my lines. Also, I have this other comic that I'm doing on Patreon, Mac the Gamma, which is all hand painted pages.
Okay.
I love that. I'll always go through Photoshop, clean it up, do my borders. I have different things that I try, but I like drawing too much, and I think I think these tablets are great. I'm not. I can't say anything. I'm new to it, right? But I see the potential and practicality for certain things. But I'm not. I mean, I see kids that were started drawing with them, and they're doing beautiful stuff, and it's great.
Yeah.
I have no. I'm too old for that shit. I don't have tolerance. The learning curve is not worth my time anymore. I know how to draw. It's going to be much faster if I do it on paper, scan it. You know.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, you know. But it's a very powerful tool. And now I'm actually having fun coloring.
With the
Mark Vallis was fucking work. Coloring that thing was fucking work. It was like sit down, stop looking at the internet, finish your pages, and it was not fun at the end. Coloring that because I wasn't equipped well, right? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
But drawing, for sure, these pages, So just to finish, because Johnny asked me, there's this book that I'm working on, but the next book right after is a second Mark Vallis.
Cool.
I just needed to say that. Yeah.
Nice.
There's definitely, it's all written and it's ready to go. It's going to take a while before I can sit down and start it, but it's going to go fast and it's going to be awesome.
Are you gonna
be another just starts off and it just goes running with a new cast of characters, or is it going to be kind of a revisit?
So the thing of the first one is that it's one thread, right? I never cut to see very rarely cut to see what other people are doing, right? The whole point is that you're following this one character and it never stops, and you're just following her all the way, you know? So I want to keep that. I want to keep a lot of stuff, but it will start exactly where the first one left off.
Okay, wow, because
that's actually exciting.
The
last scene of the first book is the first scene of the new book.
The second, okay.
So it's a new character, but I don't know if you remember in the end, there's this weird alien queen with the eggs. So we start same thing, following, but we're going to follow an egg.
There you go.
Awesome.
And to keep the continuity of the aesthetic, are you going to color it the same way?
I will, but with new tools. I have new tools now. But yes, I'm going to do the same thing. Hand lines, flat digital colors with textures, but with new tools. No more trackpads.
No trackpad. You're not going to trackpad it? Come on.
Jesus. What a... Yeah.
Yeah.
It's behind me now. It's behind me.
Live and learn, right?
Yeah. I had no other way to do it. I had to do it like that. But now I'm better equipped. So yes, and it should be much faster.
Yeah.
And more fun.
That's good. Yeah, because once it becomes a chore, then when you lose the fun, it's.
I mean, you're still into it. You want to finish the picture. You have ideas and stuff, but actually doing it, oh my God. Yeah. I'm sure you can imagine with a trackpad trying to follow a line on a laptop. And
I do a lot of stuff from my phone. So I know the pain.
After she wrecks, I could only imagine how difficult it was to actually try to color it all trackpad. A lot of the stuff where she's flying in the sky, I mean, maybe bucket fill. I mean, I'm not sure your process, but yeah, I can see how this was
never
very
bucket
difficult.
Fill. But for sure, there's a lot of big flat areas. But because I'm on a trackpad, I can't trust my finger to be so precise. So I have to select areas to color. Right? I can't just color. I can't use a brush to make a line because I'm on a trackpad. So I got to select these things. So I'm selecting. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. It's work.
It paid off though. I mean, the color scheme is just glorious. It's got this very pulp era, I think, color scheme to it, which is beautiful. But it's not hokey. Like I see a lot of programs that try to sell you these pulp eras like color palettes and stuff like that.
No, it's not a filter. It's so like I paint a lot and I hate wasting paint. So when I'm done painting and I have paint left, I fill up boards with textures, just organic painted textures. Yeah. I scan those and I reuse them in a lot of the work that I do. I can then with Photoshop change the colors and stuff. And what's in Mark Vallis is that most pages, there's like in the middle between the backgrounds and the foregrounds, there's a almost transparent layer of these painted textures that I scan
Textures.
and that I reuse. Yeah, it's not like actual filters. It's just stuff that I did myself, or like I'll take a picture of sandpaper, and then blow it up, and then it's a bit
What
analog.
what's your preference and use for material when you paint? Oil, acrylic, what
I use a bit of everything, but I'm not a
yeah.
painter. I'm an illustrator. Like I
Okay.
love painting, but I'm not a painter. Like the
Okay.
way I approach things, I'm.
Okay.
If I had to pick one medium, it's just drawing, pen and ink.
Yeah,
Just
pen and ink.
making lines. Like I love making textures or Magda Gamma. I use a lot of watercolors, and
Okay.
it's Indian ink. It's all in black and white. But I'll use acrylics too. I'll use pencils, all kinds of paint markers. I love to mix and have fun. I put photos. I use a lot of photo backgrounds too sometimes. Just
Okay.
And that's available on your Patreon. Like
Yes.
how far along is that book?
Well, we're at the second book, but up to now, I've been doing this 4 pages a week for 3 years. There are 660 pages, I think, 665 pages. Each of them are A3. I don't know what that is. Like 17? No, 8.5 by 11. What's it? 17 by 11, I think, is A3. And each of them are hand painted. And yeah, there's about 660 of them. 665 of them. There's a lot to read. There's 3 years worth, and I'm pumping them out every week, 4 pages. I slowed down
plans of collecting them and selling them on Kickstarter, because I would love to have physical copies of that.
That is a bit of a special project because it's definitely for adults. It's not porn, but it is definitely not for kids. And I actually, like everything I do, the plan is to make an actual book, but that's not going to go to. Yeah, but that's not going to go to another publisher. I'm going to publish that one myself. It's going to be a Kickstarter, and I just need.
Because that stuff you put on Twitter, or on Instagram or whatever, it's just the colors, man. They're so luscious and vibrant. And
I live on your Instagram.
I love your color palette. That's why I was asking, like, if you did, I dig it, man. It's really nice.
Well, I mean, the next thing is this active measures book that's ending tomorrow. That's on Kickstarter right now. That will have a bunch of good comics, and I got a lot more pages this time. They're usually 48 pages. This one's 100. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to put into it, but there's going to be a lot of comics and a lot of comics in color, and yeah. So a lot of fun stuff. But those books, they're just for fun. Like the stories are, are built from a joke or a concept or whatever. But the real point behind all of this is just to make my comics. Mm-hmm. And the next book is going to kick ass, and I'll let you guys know first.
Oh yeah,
do you have a title for it, or are you still working
on that? No, I'm not sure. It's either going to be Harpy or Day of the Harpy.
Okay, so Harpy's definitely going to be in it.
Yes, it'll be something with Harpy, and it's cop, and most of it is in South Africa and like 2060, not too far ahead, but in the future. Mm-hmm. But in a future, not in a plaza, like it'll be like that's the future, but in a future seen through the eyes of a 90s B sci-fi movie.
Okay, so it'll be its own little world, kind of, and like an alternate world in the future, kind of.
I mean, I like that there's no explanation. It's like it's the future. It's 2060, but it'll look like a Verhoeven movie. Nice. It's very, Total Recall or RoboCop. The nice. Future stuff is the angles. The car is like just like a triangle with wheels, and that it's going to be a bit of that. I really want to push that, and a future with a lot of technology that doesn't work and no smartphones. It's going to be weird.
Good.
It's going to be this weird world to have a future in, but it should be fun. It's going to be, and it's a very good story. I'm happy I wrote. Yeah.
One of the few things I actually missed from that time period, because that's one thing that was never predicted in old school sci-fi, and I think that smartphones just make everything too convenient. You can't tell too many good stories because everybody can know anything at any moment in our real life. But in the old future, like you'd have to call them in.
I like that.
The old future.
I like that.
There were like goofy, clever ways that you had to get in contact with people to
For
figure
sure.
stuff out.
Or it was totally plausible that we can't reach this guy. He's going to the bad place, and we can't reach. Of course not. How are you going to reach him? You can't. But now you can't do that. You have to rewrite everything because, of course, you can reach him unless his battery's dead or
Dead.
something.
That's it. That's always got the battery. Or you're in a zone. Now it's like in the country where there's no reception, and then like, oh shit. And they always have to go to the phone and show. Yeah, they always have to show the phone with no reception, zero bars.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I thought it was fun when they started doing this texting and then it pops up on the screen. Like I don't remember who did that for the first time, but now it's getting old. I'm like but I get it. If you're writing a story today, of course there are ways. There's the way that people communicate. And if you want to tell something, tell your friend, don't go into the house. Well, you're going to call him and he has a phone. If he's not, then you text him or whatever. You're going to. Yeah. I just deleted all that, just like it never existed for this story.
Yeah, that's fine.
It doesn't. There's no explanation. There's just no cell phones. That's it. And the tech is going to be weird, but just like it's just not. No, I'll see, but it should be fun.
That's amazing. I can't wait to check it out. Like I've been salivating for more of your work since Mart came out. It really does just blow my mind. So yeah, I cannot.
Thank you very much. It's going to be very different, this one, But after that, if you're a big fan of Mart and you hate this new one, there's a second Mart coming out for sure.
Oh no, I'm a fan of variety. I believe that it truly is the spice of life. So I'm happy that you're going to be like, nah, man, I'm doing a Verhoeven cop futuristic thing in South Africa. That blows my skirt up more than you're just like, yeah, I'm doing this book about this girl on Mars.
I mean, it's about the story, right? And then everything else, it's about the story. Is it a good story? Can I tell it well enough that people get hooked? And then if I can touch a few people that can read it and for a few minutes go somewhere else with this story, you're leaving where you are and you go and that's amazing, right? To be able to, I don't know this person on the other side of the world, but they pick up this book and I wanted them to feel this, and then they read it and they go there and they travel and they're feeling this thing and they've never even met me, but through the art, through the story, I get to tell them there's nothing better than stories.
I'm just a little curious because you've traveled around. You've lived in quite a few different places. How many languages can you speak now?
Oh, just two.
Just the two? Okay. Yeah. I was just curious. I didn't know.
French and English.
French and English,
I mean, I've picked up a lot of stuff. Like I can say a lot of little things in different places for sure, in different languages. But speak the language? No, my brain is not wired like that. And the only reason I speak French and English is because I learned them young, right? My father's French, my mom's Canadian. Yeah. I grew up with two languages, so but I'm not that smart. Learning languages, that's insane. That's crazy. And I learn blocks. You know what I mean? Like I'll learn words and I'll learn things that I need to say, but
like everyday scenarios,
grammar and languages, I can't. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, I mean, was Hong Kong particularly hard? Because like I heard Cantonese is a particularly hard language to try to.
It's very hard to pronounce. It was a lot of fun. I learned how to say a few things, but there used to be an English colony. Most people, can speak.
You can get by. Yeah,
absolutely. Taiwan was much harder because most people didn't speak that good English in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, they speak Mandarin mostly. There's a few languages, but mostly Mandarin. And that was a bit harder. Actually, here in Germany, a lot of people, there's not a lot of people originally, I don't know how to say it. I think the thing in Europe is, it depends on how many, I read this thing, it's about subtitles. I'm sorry, I'm going far here, but I'm going to come back. I read this thing a while ago. So if you have a population in Europe with a language, and if your population is less than, I don't remember, it's like 16, 20 million. If you're less than that, then it's more worth it to just subtitle all the American movies. If you're less than 16, 20 million, I think it's 16, 20, I'm not sure. If you're more than that, then people want to watch movies in their own language, but then it's worth it to dub. So like in France and Germany, American movies are dubbed. But if you go to Denmark, to Holland, then the movies aren't dubbed; they're
They're
subtitled.
subtitled.
And so people who live in countries where the movies and the TV and all the American stuff is subtitled speak perfect, fluent English. And people who don't, like the French or the German, they have a really hard time with English. So yeah, here in Germany, there's a lot of people who can get around with little things, but it was much easier to speak English in Hong Kong than it is in Germany, or it would be in France. It would be horrible. Nobody speaks English. But yeah, how many languages I speak? Just English and French.
Okay. I was just curious because I know you traveled quite a bit, so I was just curious if,
I mean, I can say things, but understand a language? Yeah, no.
Yeah. I feel you. Yeah. I tried.
I can fake it.
I took some Spanish.
But...
I took some Spanish in Seja, but it didn't stick.
Yeah. Languages, fuck. But I can fake it. Like I could learn a few blocks and go to a place and the things that I know that I need, or learn the numbers, or these kinds of stuff. But grammar and learning the language, no. And I'm never anywhere long enough to. Maybe when I find a place to settle, then I'll be worth investing time. But
Yeah, but it's like I get screwed up all the time when I write. Like I spoke English first, learned to read and write in French first, and then taught myself to read and write in English. So it got pretty. Yeah.
I decided to start writing my stories in English just out of practicality. Mm-hmm. When I was self-publishing, I wasn't even thinking of being published by not that stuff that I was doing. It was just like my audience just speaks more English. There's a bigger audience in English. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna. It's just out of practice. I'm surviving here. I'm self-publishing, paying my rent and buying my food with self-publishing for a few years now. Like I need to put all the chances on my side. I'm not gonna start doing this stuff in French. I'm sorry. I love French, but there's just not a market for it.
No.
So, and now in time, I would like one day to take one of my stories and to do it originally in French. I would love to do that.
Just for the prestige, just because of just how world-renowned like the scene is. I mean, the French comic scene's incredible. Like, I would love to have one of my books published over there too, if I ever
What quality of work too? Oh, unbelievable quality of work.
Oh yeah, they don't publish garbage over there.
They don't fuck around with the artists.
It's just so beautiful. I mean, in every book,
hand painted watercolors, and they're big pages, right? Oh, it's quite a scene if you're into the art. There's so much beautiful stuff being published.
But it's got to be getting pretty late over there where you're at, so we're going to go ahead and button this up to help Nick out. Of course, the book is Mart Vallis. If you haven't gotten it yet, I cannot put a big enough sell on this. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at most bookstores. Image published it, so get on it because it is just one of the most interesting, intriguing, fun books you will check out in the recent times. It reminds me a lot of Aeon Flux, Blam by Satomu Nihei, a couple other things that are very precious to me. So, and it just makes it into this really beautiful anti-war comic that I can't put enough nice things on top of. I absolutely adore this book. It is my favorite book of 2021, and it is the best Kickstarter I ever backed because
really.
Definitely. Well, because you were so upfront about it, and then the book came, and I love the way this thing feels in my hands. I mean, you say that it's just the soft varnish, but I think that there's like some DMSO and some cocaine mixed onto it. Because I actually feel good when I touch it. You know what I mean?
A beautiful object. A book is a beautiful. For sure. There's a bit of. I wouldn't say cocaine. Something. Less of a there's something if you touch
something powerful about it. There's an energy to the book that I felt even before I read it. I remember I saw the little picture that you see on your Kickstarter, And at first, I hate to say this because I don't want to, but like I don't know how you feel about the artist, but I was like, "Ooh, that looks like a Brandon Graham book." And then I looked at it and I'm like, "Jesus, this
Oh, I'm
looks
friends
better
with
than a
Brandon.
Brandon Graham book." I'm like, "Wow."
I'm no, I love Brandon stuff. I'm friends with Brandon. I met him. We started talking this year actually, but yeah, no, that's a compliment. I love his stuff. I think I have all his books. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing. I know a lot of people dislike him at this point for some reason. I don't know why, but he is a master of the form, and he is just an incredibly fun storyteller like yourself. And I think that that's good company to be in, at least
Thank you.
in the
Yeah, no,
context of the
absolutely.
work.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the way he writes stuff. He writes beautiful stories and he has a unique way of writing them too. That's, I think, exactly the opposite of all this stuff I was saying about comics, about superhero stuff, like some original ways of telling stories and that make you travel, that take you somewhere and somewhere you couldn't have guessed. You open a Marvel or DC comic, you kind of know where you're going. Am I wrong? You know where the story's going to get.
Oh
It doesn't
yeah,
take, you
dude.
know what I mean? You're just
Not
rehashing stuff, right?
What?
nine out of 10 times, yes.
9 out of 10 times, I find this great book, and I go and try to tell my friends on Twitter about it, and I'll be like, "Dude, you got to check this out. This is so great." And they'll look at me and be like, "Johnny, you don't understand what's going on right now, man. The Batman is fighting Joker right now. All right, like,
What?
how can
What?
how can you expect me to look at something else? Like, this never happens. Batman's fighting Joker."
What?
I would have.
So yeah, to find something that tells you a story, not just a new story, but that tells you a story in a new way. Yes, please. Can we have more? Can we have a lot? Can we have only that?
Yeah.
I
So yeah,
love this idea right here. Write your script in both languages if you're capable, because one thing that I love World Comics, and another thing that really drags down being a fan of World Comics, is having to wait for the translations to get translated and then published over here. It is such a heartbreaking experience because so much of it never gets released anyways. You know what I mean? And these are huge names, world-renowned names. I mean, people like J.D. Morvan are loved in China and Japan and stuff like that, and he has to go through like Magnetic, a company that people either distrust or don't know, to get his stuff released
I
over
think it
here.
has to do with rights, right? Like they're not in control. Like when I signed Mark Vallis with Image, I don't know who's going to be interested in Brazil maybe to publish it. Is it maybe not going to be the best publisher there? Like I don't know anything about it. Someone's going to be interested in buying the rights. They're doing that with them. I don't know how it works.
But before we close out, you want to go ahead and plug all your socials and your shop and everything really quick, Nick?
Joe has his finger up. He's trying to say
Yeah,
something.
just remind people that you're in the last 24 hours of your
Yes.
more recent Kickstarter, Active Measures Volume 3. It's in the last 24 hours, so if you love
It's
his art,
ending. Yeah.
yeah, it's an art book / anthology. It's about quite a bit,
It's
over 100 pages, so if you like his
over
stuff,
100
man,
pages. It's
yeah,
not.
go
It's
check
not
it
gonna,
out, back it. Yeah.
It's not going to be super dirty, but it always is a bit. I'm just warning you.
Yeah.
It's not
Like
as bad as some other stuff I do, but it's worse than some other stuff I do. It's in the middle there
It's in
somewhere.
the middle of the road.
our
Something
you're
for
friend
not
everyone.
sure,
Slapstick calls it cheesecakey. Like, it's like this. If you like the female form, you're not going to get your feelings hurt. And it's
um,
mostly covered up for the most part. There might be a
Yeah.
little bit of
a
full
little
frontal,
less, a
but
little less in this book though.
yeah.
A little less, but not like it's not porn or anything. But
No,
you
it's
know,
tastefully done.
I like to think so.
I
But
think
maybe the
so.
person next to you in the bus doesn't think so. So maybe don't read the book in the bus if you're not sure.
That's why
Wait,
in the
wait.
intro I put.
Wait till you're home.
Unless you're on the school bus, then you're the coolest kid in school. But
Then you're
yeah.
definitely then that's a perfect place to do it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah, last 24 hours to go back this Kickstarter, people.
Yes, absolutely, and lots of great comics. That's all I want to push. I'm coming up with some great stuff very soon. So I think it's great. It's gonna be fun. At least it's gonna be fun stuff to read. Good
Awesome.
comics. So yeah,
Oh, at least plug your Instagram, man, because people need to go on there, and because you're constantly
can I do
putting
it?
new beautiful work up.
Wait, where's my finger? I can't. I'm trying to point at my EPHK. Anyways, I can't. But it's right there. EPHK is my handle on Instagram.
On Instagram?
And Twitter wanted 5 characters, or 1 appeared. So it's EPHK1 on Twitter.
Yeah.
But just EPHK on
Instagram.
And yeah, it's mostly art. I don't post as much as I used to, but that's where you get all the news and all the stuff. I'll post whatever book is coming out or whatever I'm working on, or that's my.
And you have a site where you sell stickers and stuff like that too?
Clandestine Republic. I mean, it's better
Republic?
to go clandestinerepublic.com, but it's a bit long to write or to.
Just click the link on your
out.
Instagram or Twitter.
Linktree has everything. I have all my books up there. I'm going to shut down the shop for a few months because I'm moving, but it'll be back up and everything's always available there. And there's books, and you can always write me or DM me. I answer it all the time.
Excellent.
Right on.
Guys, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I just wanted to say that I usually try to avoid these things because they make me really uncomfortable. When Johnny asked me, I was so happy because you guys did my first review of my first openly published book, commercially published book, and such a great review. So I was very happy I said yes very, very quickly. I'm very happy that you guys invited me, and I hope we can do it again too with the next book.
Definitely. Yeah. Had a really good talk, learned a lot of neat stuff from you. So yeah, you're welcome back anytime you want to plug something too. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, I got something that I kind of want to talk about. Can I hop on with you guys in the near future? Me and Joe schedule something right away for you. So that's all.
That is awesome. That's very good to know. That's awesome. I'll keep following and seeing the next shows too.
Cool. But yeah, with that, this has been a really exciting, exceptional episode of Pink Buzz, a product of graphic vandalism. And you know what that means. That means don't stop reading, don't stop watching them awesome movies, even if they are directed by Christopher Nolan, and don't stop supporting excellent music. All right, y'all. Check you later.